Yes, Nicola.
So, question. Melody said that she, in her last life, was like a professional nagger.
Right.
Well, I was wondering about my key achievement is actually nothing to do with writing.
Okay.
So should I have put my key achievements were A, B, C, and D?
It depends on what you're trying to promote. Like if you were going in for a job interview, I certainly would not be talking about, I wrote a book about werewolves, right? I would all be focused on what it pertains to the job I'm interviewing for. So if you're in a networking situation with other writers, what are your key achievements, by the way? Let me go back to that.
I was an operating room nurse for many years. I was top of my drama school in London. Everybody, and I was top of my school in Wales. So, I mean, none of that is anything to do with...
Yeah, those are not the key achievements I would focus on with your writing. That's why I give you guys a lot of different suggestions for focal points. Because some focal points will work better than others, depending on what your situation is. Now, if you're still working on your novel, or you've already finished it?
I finished it, and I'm redoing it at the moment.
Okay, so that right there is a key achievement in itself. The fact that you've finished your novel.
Okay.
Just think about how many people are out there who never finish their novel. And that right there is something to brag about.
Okay.
So that could certainly be your key achievement. And then you can tell us some more about your book.
Okay.
All right? Okay, now let's move on to a personal beliefs introduction. This is down an entirely different path. It's not quite the same as an elevator speech introduction because at its core, it's not just about facts. It is about what do you love? This is the big selling point, and this is where you can get people along on your bandwagon, in your passions of what you do. It's true in the job searching world, and it's especially true for authors. We want to hear your passion. So often, we're stuck in, let's talk about the facts, ma'am. You know, because we don't want somebody to see us get all goofy because, like in my case, I love werewolves, blood, and guts. Actually, when you do that, they tend to walk away. So let's use the other bucket as an example. I really am passionate about helping job seekers. You know, I've been doing this since 2004, and I love teaching and instructing people on how to get a job with practical tools. Obviously, I love this. If I'm going to talk about my personal beliefs, that's going to be the core of my introduction. So the first thing you have to figure out is why you are interested in this particular genre or topic. I just gave you mine. Yeah, I've written not once but twice on the same book about all these practical job searching tips. For me, all of this sprung from when I was in human resources, and I was actually literally cutting all the qualified applicants because they didn't understand how to go about applying for a job. Because of that, that's why I started teaching this stuff, and that's why I wrote my books. Can you hear that passion in my voice? I bet you guys are all passionate about your topic or your genre. Otherwise, you wouldn't suffer for it if you didn't. You know? So, that's the first piece. Number one, why are you interested in this genre or topic? Then you expand on it more with one of the other points below. Again, only one. You can't do multiples of it. So if I'm going to talk about, I'm interested in my topic because I'm passionate about helping job seekers, what have I done to pursue this cause? Well, I quit the day job and now I do this full time. What this mission means to me, depending on your genre or your topic, your book itself could be your mission. I know a lot of people who write in nonfiction, or even like, for example, Mark, with your political blog. That's your passion, that's your mission. You want to educate people as to what's going on so they have different points of view, correct?
Yes.
So all of that makes sense to pull that into a personal beliefs introduction. So, research or education that relates to my subject. If you're in one of these books that requires a lot of historical research, or if it's something in the educational field, or even to finish off where you want to go professionally, you had to go get some additional education, whether that's writing seminars or finishing anything up to finishing a college degree, all of that stuff matters because it shows how much you care about what you do. And finally, how you want to make a difference. Sometimes making a difference with a book is just to be entertaining and to give people an escape from the everyday lives. Help them have something a little bit more rich than just riding the bus to work and doing the daily grind. Sometimes, what you want somebody to get out of it is you want to motivate them to change their lives. That all depends on what you do and what works for your topic. So, then since this one has 2 parts to it, I'm going to give you 59 seconds. And then we'll come back to it. All right, 10 more seconds. No pressure. Okay, and time. Oh, everybody's cheating. Nobody's putting their pens down this time. Do you guys need 15 more seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You pulled my arm. Now you got it, huh?
I think so. I don't know when I would ever use this one though.
Well, now you're gonna have to say it for us.
No. For someone who's spent a good part of her life public speaking, I sure have a hard time talking about my own writing.
A lot of us do, because it's being vulnerable. It's putting it up for criticism, and it's hard. That's why it takes practice to get used to talking about our writing. And not just in our comfy, cozy, we're all writers here and we're all supporting each other. It's like, how do you start saying that out there in the real world? And that's where it gets tricky.
Well, what I noticed is if you ever go to the conferences and stuff where the agents and editors are, that you do the pitch, there's also times when you go out to dinner with them, sitting at tables with them. So this type of exercise is a very good thing. Instead of sitting at a table where it's all
right. Exactly. Yeah. Here's the other thing with a personal beliefs introduction like this. These are ones that do not require just 30 seconds. These are more expansive than we've got 20 seconds to meet each other and I want to remember something about you. This is where you're definitely going to have a longer conversation with the person. So, Carla, are you willing to let us hear it?
I will, okay. I write Christian fantasy because it's a wonderful way to discuss the issues of good and evil and personal responsibility in an entertaining way. I want to make people look at their faith in a new way and learn to step outside their comfort zones.
That actually sounds pretty good to me. Don't you guys think so? Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Just get used to saying it now. Okay, Susan, I haven't heard from you yet, so I'm going to pick on you.
I can finish. Okay, why am I interested? The different perspectives and expectations that people bring to relationships often determine their course.
Okay, let's back it up. What's your topic? What's your book?
It's a contemporary novel fiction.
Contemporary novel fiction. Okay. What's it about?
It is about a family in the 1970s with 3 girls.
Okay.
3 girls and extended family with mother-in-laws.
Okay. All right. We're getting closer. What's the book about?
The book is about how they change as a course of their interaction with each other
Okay.
over time.
All right. Now let's hear your beliefs again.
The different perspectives and expectations that people bring to relationships often determine their course.
Is this all serious or does it have humor in it?
A little humor, but
Mostly serious.
Mhm.
Mostly serious relationship exploration.
No
Okay.
rules.
Yeah. All right. So, let's see. As you know, my name is Susan, and I just finished my book. What's the title of your book?
I don't know yet.
Oh.
I've got 5.
Okay, so,
Working on it.
you know, I'm deeply involved in a book that I'm writing about a contemporary American family. And what's really fascinating to me about this is how their relationships develop and how they grow and change, and they don't even realize what the other people are thinking.
Okay.
Something along those lines. You know, there's got to be that grabber in there, and that's what I'm thinking. Because if it's a relationship examination over time, and they don't realize each other's perspectives, that's probably where the conflicts are coming in. Am I correct?
Mhm.
So that's where we need to draw it out. Because there's so much, you would say, a contemporary American family. Okay, is this The Simpsons? Or is this American Pie? Or, you know, where are we going with this? Or is it The Shining? You know, there's some family conflict there. I want to know why you're fascinated with this. And then I'll get fascinated too.
Okay.
Does that help?
Mhm.
Okay, our table in the middle here, we haven't picked on anybody. Do any of you want to share?
I've regressed since 2 o'clock.
Oh.
I've changed everything here. As you know, I am Barbara Martini Goldie, and I am writing about the years I was a martini and the years after when I began to drink martinis as relationships developed and changed and age allowed.
Okay, we can have some fun with this one.
Yeah.
Let's see. As you know, my name is...
My name is Barbara Martini, like the drink,
Right.
Goldie,
Okay. Why did
which
you
I
say
never
that?
had thought about using until
Yeah, you know, it's
10
like-
after 2.
Yeah, as you know, my name is Barbara Martini Goldie. Yes, that's Martini, but I'm a Goldie. And my book is about how first I came into my marriage to become a martini, then I was pickled by the martinis, and now I talk about how I've grown since then. Because you can have all kinds of fun
I
with
know.
that one. That's just like on a silver platter right there for you. There's a lot you can build with that. Especially, is there humor in your writing too?
Some.
Yep. You could really build with that. I would run with that. I would run that into the ground.
The first bunch were so boring that I wouldn't read it.
Yeah.
But now I'm liking it.
Yeah. Like I said, this is why I give you several different suggestions so that you can figure out the one that works for you. Because what works for me may not work for Seth, and that may not work for Susan. So you got to find your own voice. Just like in writing your book, you got to find your own voice. And we all start from that rough point. I know I was horrified the other day. First short story I wrote, something terrible happened. It got published. And boy, did that thing suck. because I reread it like a year after I wrote it because I was so happy because I killed like 7 people in 100 words. You know, that was my goal. I write horror, so, and it was sci-fi, so each one of them was creative and different. But I read through it again after now having some experience being a writer, and I'm like, I can't believe they published this. This is terrible. Same thing happens when we're practicing and writing our introductions. The only way we get better at this is to keep trying, and the craft will develop. And it's one thing to write it out on paper, and then it's another thing to start practicing it in front of people. You have to do both. I always find, and I coach my clients and my students, especially like dealing with tough interview questions, very similar process. You have to brainstorm a lot. You have to write down a lot of possibilities. And in that brainstorming, you're going to find the truth. You're going to find the one that is you, your voice, your style that reflects your writing and your projects, and you're going to start to own that. Then all you have to do is start practicing saying it out loud, and then it'll sound polished as well as natural. Make sense? Okay, who else has one?
I have a problem with writing too much or saying too much. I talk a lot.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, so I probably need help like cutting down all the stuff that I wrote.
Okay, well
So,
let's hear
all
what you
right.
got.
So I want to make a difference because I'm out to prove that atheists aren't hedonistic or nihilistic, which a lot of people automatically assume. I have a unique religious background, and I'm writing morally ambiguous characters in a kind of a holy war that represents my personal struggle with Christianity and atheism. So
That's interesting. Yeah, you're right. We do a lot to
Yeah.
build on these themes here. Part of the problem was you took. Which was the one that you were focusing on for your focal point? No, it was
that's
the
my
how I
problem.
want to make a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot, and it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, I like the hedonistic idea. The only problem is, there's a lot of people you're going to run into who aren't going to know what hedonistic and nihilistic
Yeah.
is. Do you know what that means, Jake? No. Jake has no idea. Sorry to pick on the 8th grader, but, you know.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to like explain. That,
Yeah.
like, you know, a lot of people think atheists just don't care about anything.
That's where we need to go.
Yeah.
Get a little bit less
Yeah,
cerebral.
we have no ethics or something, and that's what a lot of people just assume.
Well, they might just assume like you're evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And-
I mean,
That's what I
they have
wanted
been
to ask. Yeah,
brought
how
up
do
in
you
a certain
say
way.
that without
Yeah.
being offensive
yeah.
to somebody?
Mhm.
And I have the character in the book, the main character. He's one of the bad guys, but
Okay.
he isn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
So I set up that dynamic because it's similar to how I feel
Right.
in our world. It's like I'm kind of labeled as the bad guy.
Right.
But see,
Okay.
we come from like probably the opposite end of the
Yeah.
spectrum. But you're talking about, you know, how you want to write morally ambiguous
Mhm.
characters to explore your own,
Mm-hmm.
you know, battle between the two.
Yeah.
That gets me. I'm like,
That's
okay,
what
well,
I
that's
thought.
something that
Yeah.
we can
Yeah,
you know,
like there's
discuss.
the female character. These are younger kids,
Mhm.
and she's someone from the other side, and it kind of represents that there were things that I liked about Christianity and things that I still kind of hold dear to me. So that's like my best friend, you know.
Yeah.
There's kind of like a good aspects of religion that I still hold very dear, like a best friend.
All right. Here's your hook.
All right.
Because you're right. It's the ambiguousness and it's that inner conflict that is most impressive with this.
Mhm.
So, you know, as you know, my name is Seth, and I'm actually an atheist philosopher. A lot of people don't realize what atheism means. Yeah, that's where you need to go.
Mhm.
Okay, let me start over. Hey, it's impromptu. You get what you
Yeah.
get. All right. So as you know, my name is Seth, and I'm working on my first novel.
Yeah.
I'm working on my first sci-fi novel, which is actually a moral play thought out by, dang it, I lost it. Okay. Because this is where it needs to go.
Mhm.
There's a great hook in here that's hiding in the meat
Yeah.
of people misunderstand what atheism, see,
Atheism.
can't even pronounce it. You know, if I can't pronounce it, that's a bad sign. A lot of people misunderstand what atheists are. The truth is we're not immoral. But I wrote this book so people can see how amoral situations play out, and it starts to bring in our own personal beliefs so that it's not just an outward conflict we all fight, it's an inward conflict of figuring out what we believe at our core. It was fun,
Yeah.
but we got there, you know.
That's what I need help with.
Don't worry, I will be posting this video online. If the video does not come out, I'll have an audio clip for you. Yeah, because that's what's most interesting about your writing. And
Which is really the human condition. We all struggle.
yeah,
I think everybody would relate to how you said that
yeah,
and would want to read that.
Yeah.
It would be interesting.
yeah. It's a little bit different where, you know, I just blow stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, making and emphasizing that it's character driven would interest people that, like me, that might not automatically gravitate towards that. But then that interests me.
Yeah.
And within the sci-fi world itself too,
Yeah.
there's that split. Are you Star Trek
Yeah.
or are you Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking about Next Generation,
Yeah.
not classic Star Trek. Okay, you guys are not uber nerds if you didn't get that. You know, because the first Star Wars movies, well, there's definitely stuff going on with character development and spirituality. Eventually, it really is about blowing stuff up. Star Trek: The Next Generation is all about the moral plays.
And now you got the Battlestar Galactica people.
Oh,
It's
I'm not
just
even
like-
gonna go there.
you
That's
got that
fractal.
soap
That's
opera.
amazing.
You
Love
got
Battlestar.
you got you can't-
But you know, so much writing is the juxtaposition between good and evil.
Mhm.
And that is what compels us, I think, to read, work. So,
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that though. The average book consumer is not out there looking for a moral play of the fight of good and evil. They want to be entertained. We're talking about fiction.
Oh yeah.
It's the human condition that makes the book good. Just like a good cover will sell your book, excellent content will get your book referred to others. That's what you want. You need to have your hooks to bring them in. But it's really, if we don't have human characters interacting and growing along the way, then what are we doing? No matter what our genre is.
Yeah, it's similar in
Yeah.
nonfiction as
Yeah.
well. That's very interesting what you guys said. Can I?
Oh, yes, let's hear
Okay,
it.
so I'm interested in politics because I've been on the left and the right, and I've discovered that stereotypes each side holds for the other are almost always false.
I do like that.
So it's true.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a long time.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I
That's
believe
perfect
it.
statement.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I kind of try to drive for.
I've really discovered that over the years.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
See, now you heard when Mark and I were going before, I was trying to draw him out to see, are you really hardcore on one side, or are you just, the party's rhetoric? Is it more in the middle? And I think that summed up what you said right there very succinctly of your points of view, and I can appreciate probably where your writing is going to come from.
That's the open-mindedness. That's what I want. I strive for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we need.
Although
more.
I am partisan.
Yeah.
But I see.
But who isn't?
I see the both sides.
Yeah.
but I think, the thing is that, if you were just repeating the platitudes of one side, you're really not communicating with other people. But if you show the human condition, maybe people will understand why you believe what you do.
Yep. Yep. Okay, we have time for one more. If anybody wants to go. Yes.
Can I take a whack at the whole thing here?
Huh?
Can I take a whack at this whole thing?
Yes, please.
Okay. As you know, my name is Tina Houston. I'm a professional horse trainer and riding instructor. I'm a writer and illustrator. I've written articles for the Horse Protection League and took first place in the Mighty Muse Writing Project for Women. I'm currently writing a young adult novel that's kind of a Dances with Wolves if you will, about a 14-year-old girl who wants to be a horse trainer. I've been involved in horsemanship my entire life, and it's a very misunderstood and refined skill. And that's been the thrust for why I've written my novel.
Okay, we can tighten this up a lot.
Yeah.
All right. First and foremost, I want to take your piece that you're going with, you know, I'm a horse trainer. You're leading with that. I want to tack it to the end.
Okay.
So what I would start off with is, you know, I'm currently working on I'm an author and illustrator, particularly in the realms dealing with horse training or anything equestrian, drawing on my long-term experience as a trainer and equestrian.
Okay.
And then you fall into one of your projects. You can't do both. You either want to talk about the articles that you've written, or you want to go into more depth about the novel.
Okay. So the articles wouldn't be a credential?
Well, they're a credential, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. You know, are you trying to set yourself as the nonfiction writer, or as, I bet if we tighten this up, we could get it to work for both, though.
Okay. The Mighty Muse was a fiction
Okay.
contest.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was sounding like there were two different credentials going on. You know, one fiction and one, and of course the articles. But the main thing is, start leading off with, I'm an author and illustrator. I draw heavily upon my experience as 20 years of being a horse trainer.
Okay.
Then everything else starts to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you start off with, I'm a horse trainer, and then go into, I'm an author and illustrator, I'm like, why did we switch directions? And then you come into it later on. But if you start off with, I'm an author and illustrator, drawing heavily on my 20 years of horse training, now I'm expecting equestrian articles, I'm expecting the horse novel, and these kind of things.
Okay, that makes very good sense.
Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
There was, as you probably heard at the beginning of my speech when I was introduced, I work with the Colorado Career Developers Association. And I'm a private practitioner. I had a meeting with several other private practitioners, and we had a student show up. And she's going, I hope to be a career coach someday. And one of the other coaches goes, you are a coach today. You need to refer to yourself as a coach. Everything you have, you can give to someone else. That's the essence of being a coach. When you start calling yourself a coach, you become one. The same was true with us being authors and writers and speakers. You're an author when you say you are one. Not just when it's published, not just when the book is finished. If you're in perfecting your art, if you're suffering for it, if you've got those ideas that wake you up in the middle of the night and you have to go jot it down right now before it's lost, you're an author. Tell people that. Start off with it. Unless a coach, they're looking for a job, because then they'll think you're doing something else. But embrace what you are and tell people about it, and then tell me why I want to be engaged in your project. So that's everything that I have for you today. I hope that you use this open networking time after this. Practice your introductions with each other and go from there.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
As this time for this kind of question,
Yes.
as you've been talking about good and evil, etc., politics, is it possible ever for the bad guy to win? I write short stories as well, because I try to write every day, and if I'm stuck, I write a short story. So I'm at the arc of the short story, and I could very easily make the bad guy win in this. Would anyone ever read when the bad guy wins?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Is that-
American movies that have the problem with the bad guy winning. But if you've been watching